Empire. The in-game betting markets are maturing.
If the markets are disabled or there's a lot of bet rejections, users are not going to come back and keep betting. So we needed to have that maximum availability, especially with the, you have that 20-second window. We need to be available for that whole time.
That's Mark Nerenberg, COO of Simplebet, who is powering the engines of the emerging U.S. betting markets. This is the Future Sport Podcast. I'm Bram Weinstein. How much will the linear broadcast change now that gambling has literal partnerships with rights holders and leagues, but also because the markets are changing themselves? It's a big question for everyone involved in the distribution of sports, and one that the folks at Simplebet are prepared to answer. Our guest this week is Mark Nerenberg. He's the Chief Operating Officer at Simplebet, which is a B2B product development company that's using machine learning and real-time technology to make every moment of every sporting event a betting opportunity. Let's get into the micro betting world with Mark Nerenberg. Hey, Mark, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. We had on one of the former co-founders of Simplebet in the past. It's been a while. Things have changed. States are changing regulations. There's more incorporation of the type of things that you guys are presenting. So give us an update. Where is Simplebet now as you kind of get into the sports betting landscape?
Yeah, so I'm not sure when that chat with Joey was, but in the past year, we've now been live with DraftKings for over a year, having great results across MLB, NFL, and college football, and some promising results for basketball as well. We just went live with Bet365 globally, which was really validating for us. I think they're viewed as sort of the leader of in-play globally. And I know they've tried to do some of the markets that we do, and after chatting with us, they thought it was best to partner with us for these U.S. sports and what we call micro betting, essentially micro time frames in play, which we feel are very well suited for U.S. sports. And so, we've just continued to roll out new market types. We've got 5 sports now. In the past year, we also stood up our own data collection operation for college, sort of out of necessity. There just wasn't quality enough live data feed for college to do the micro markets that we wanted to do. So we have over 300 scouts across the country in stadiums collecting data, and so we're kind of powering that whole product, and that's been a big effort and very successful so far.
All right, tell me a little bit more about that. That's really interesting. You sent scouts to games. They're collecting data in real time, which is what? Then being turned around for betting opportunity?
Yeah, this is how it's done for most sports. There's some level of automation depending on the sport, but generally we call them scouts or statisticians. They're doing manual live data collection as quickly as possible to essentially provide a incident feed or play-by-play almost, which is then used to create markets and odds. So for pro sports, we partner with companies like Genius for NFL, Sport Radar for NBA and MLB, as they're the official providers, and they provide that and probably do it in somewhat of a similar way that we do. In college, there are no official providers, so there's a handful of providers, and we decided we wanted to get into that and try to do that ourselves, just out of necessity, because those unofficial feeds that were available just were not up to the quality needed for the types of markets that we do and the amount of uptime or availability that we feel is necessary for user adoption and ultimately stickiness.
Time is of the essence there, though. Is that ever an issue when you're doing it on your end and not using a provider to get the information as fast as possible to you?
Yes, speed and accuracy. So, for everything, all of our modeling is automated using machine learning, and we need to have an understanding of the exact state of the game in real time. Otherwise, we're going to put out the wrong prices or have the market resulted wrong or created at the wrong time. So yeah, a lot goes into that. In addition to doing our own data collection, we've also got really good at automated defensive logic for when other feed providers send incorrect messages. For example, they'll send the wrong 30-yard line on the wrong side of the field happens once in a while. Or if they send a punt message before the fourth down message, like that was a problem for us in the early days. We figured out how to have all this logic to know when it's wrong and have just automated correction. So we're really good at knowing the exact state of the game, meaning like, it's 1st and 10 from the 22-yard line and the time on the clock, or in baseball, how many, runners on 1st and 3rd, 2 outs, the count is 3 and 2. You need to know that exact state of the match at all times. That's very important for all of in play.
Okay. You said one other thing I want to go back to as well that I would like you to touch on. You had mentioned that these are markets that are really appealing to the U.S. sports bettor. Why? Well, why is that the case?
Yeah, great question. So the easy comparison is to soccer, which is, by far the most popular sports betting sport globally. And with U.S. sports, you have a cadence where there's a meaningful event and then some time in between. Specifically with baseball and American football, you have a pitch and then 22 seconds and then another pitch. And in football, you have plays. So there's a good amount of time and then a good authentic sort of event that's going to happen. And on top of that, these are things that casual fans have opinions about and talk about.
Yeah.
And, when is there going to be a goal in the next 2 minutes, or the next corner kick will be, by player X? It's not a casual thing that people have opinions about. But, the Patriots are going to stuff them on 3rd and 1. And that's what people think and talk about. Or Aaron Judge is probably going to walk this at bat. These are things that people have opinions about and they want to bet on. And I think that's different with U.S. sports. When you don't really have that with soccer.
Yeah. And then as you kind of have learned about building these markets, so let's take football as an example where each drive, the result of could be bet on, each play, as you put it, short of a team going complete hurry up offense, could be bet on. Certain situations on 3rd down, will they complete it? Will they be stopped? Will it be incomplete? Will it be a turnover? You could put prices on literally every single one of those things and maybe have 30 seconds to turn that around and put that market out there. Could you kind of take me through the technology and the growth of it to get from A to B, which is thinking through these things and actually making them an actionable thing that fans can interact with?
Yeah, I mean, there's a certain amount that we control. We learned early through some early struggles in 2019 how important that live data and match state stuff is for the thing, really to have that maximum availabiliability. If the markets are disabled or there's a lot of bet rejections, users are not going to come back and keep betting. So we needed to have that maximum availability, especially with you have that 20-second window. We need it to be available for that whole time. And then there's a lot of work on our customer side for how to present these markets and showing users the right markets at the right time. And so, yeah, I mean, interestingly, for baseball, our most popular market is pitch result. It probably does 35 to 40% of all of our handle, and we have a lot more markets for at bats and half innings.
Like literal, football, actual each pitch. Like this will be a strike, or this will be a ball, or this will be a hit, or this will be a foul, like that.
It's ball, strike, or in play.
Yeah,
and that does almost 40% out of all of our MLB handle.
Wow.
We also have pitch speed. Every single pitch, you can bet the over under on the velocity of the pitch speed, which is live in most states. So what I was saying is baseball, that most micro time frame is the most popular. Although at bats are popular as well. We probably have the most spread out popularity in baseball of any sport. For NFL, it's actually the opposite. Our drive time frame markets are the most popular. Our drive result, punt, turnover, touchdown, or field goal. That probably does 40% of our volume. And whereas the play markets, we have a handful of really interesting play markets, but they probably only add up to 20%. So you can bet every play rush or pass. You can bet every play, will this be a first down, yes or no? You can bet, will this be a touchdown on this play?
Yeah.
So that one's fun. Last Super Bowl, we tend to build up a lot of bets on touchdown when there's a commercial or downtime. And so with the Super Bowl, the first play out of halftime was a long touchdown to T. Higgins. So that we lost quite a bit on that one. But I think there's a lot of reasons why. But you would think it is interesting, right, that baseball has the most micro time frame as the most popular, and football, it's actually the drive markets that are the most popular. I think a lot of that is discoverability and where the markets live in the nav. I think for the shortest micro instant time frames, it's got to be front and center. Once you have to go search to find it, you're just not going to have users betting on it.
There's this part of me that goes, and this really isn't for this interview, but there's part of me that goes, it's just proof positive that baseball's too slow of a game and people actually need something in between literally every pitch to keep them engaged, honestly.
Well, yeah, I mean, they are trying to shorten that a little bit. You heard the pitch clock is going down to, 15 seconds or 20 when there's a runner on base. But I don't know, for micro betting, I think baseball's perfect.
Yeah, no kidding. I've always felt like golf would be the perfect sport for it too. In between each shot, what the result would be. Will they get up and down? Will he make this putt? I mean, it's limitless in there, and there's a lot of time in between swings. So it's an interesting sport to look at.
Golf is going to be perfect. The rights holders have they have, I think, an exclusive odds provider, and they're working on that. We would love to do golf, but they haven't been willing to work with us on that. So we've heard a lot of talk that there's going to be all these micro markets out there for PGA, and I'm just excited to see that when it's really out there.
Yeah.
Maybe we can get involved at some point.
This episode is brought to you by Chalk and Dog, which brings together the vast experience and expertise of two of the brightest agencies in media, sports, wagering, and gaming. With deep roots in the UK and the US, the agency offers expert guidance in everything from market entry to market expansion for startups as well as established global brands, powered by best-in-class communication and creative experts. Chalk and Dog has vast international experience and delivers results-oriented, tailor-made solutions for B2B and B2C organizations. You have a background of working at DraftKings. You were the vice president of game operations there. What did you learn about the experience of working in what I guess mainly it initially was a fantasy platform that you've brought to Simplebet that you're using to try to move this company forward?
Yeah. I mean, so I've been in sports gaming, sports gambling since I was 25. I was co-founder of Draft Street, which was ultimately bought by IAC. We were a competitor. We were number 2 behind FanDuel for a while. Then DraftKings came along and acquired us. So that's how I got in there. And then what Draft Street was great at was launching new sports and figuring out the best rules. We were the first to do golf. We were the first to do soccer. So then when we got to DraftKings, that's what they had my team doing. And there we launched soccer for them, MMA, NASCAR, League of Legends. And one thing I learned, the strategy there was what they call wallet share. And some of these sports were not necessarily driving a ton of revenue, but the thought is every time there's a big UFC fight and we have it and FanDuel doesn't, then all the users that kind of play on both they're going to come play for the UFC fight, and now we have their wallet share that, then they're going to start playing NBA or whatever else, where they maybe don't have a huge preference, FanDuel versus DraftKings. So I definitely learned, about product differentiation, especially in this type. It's very similar, DFS to sports betting in that regard. Just having product differentiation, and users generally understand you can get a lot of the same types of bets or games on different sites. So having something that users want that your competitor doesn't, it is worth more than just the revenue from that product. So that was kind of the strategy, is like, let's find our good early partner, prove this out together. And like DraftKings was that early partner, and they have some equity in Simplebet, so we're aligned. They understand this, that they're, we're giving them a differentiator, but ultimately we're going to prove out a product that now FanDuel, Caesars, MGM, Barstool, etc., they're all going to want it, and they're going to turn to us.
Okay. And moving forward, as you work with all of these different partners with your product, what do they want from you? What are they saying that their customers want?
Yeah, I think that their customers want more options to bet. They want that availability that, like I said, users, the experience of trying to make a bet and getting it rejected, or just the markets are down and not available, is not a sticky experience. So that's what we're bringing that they want. And yeah, their engagement, and ultimately right now in this market, revenue and monetization. So we've made a concerted effort there as well. For our first season of NFL, our hold percentage was 5.6%. And this year so far, we're at 11.9% on the season. Similarly, our other sports have improved. And that's without the VIG increasing, really. So we've just improved our models and also beefed up some of our trading tools and trading team. So yeah, I think they're looking for new ways to monetize and try to get closer to profitability.
All right, last thing for you. I wonder how your technology or others like it could be implemented into traditional broadcasts of games, if it's not necessarily specifically to try to engender betting, but to provide information on what the probabilities are to the viewer. So do you see that as something that will be happening potentially with Simplebet in that way?
Definitely. So we already have done some of that. There's kind of two things. What you mentioned is just surfacing interesting content. And we've done sort of like betcast type with some RSNs, proof of concepts, where they're just showing the odds, and they're changing with every pitch for at bats. And I think that could be really interesting. We've seen Apple doing that with a different partner. So I think that's going to become more popular. And then there's also actually doing free versions, free games where you can actually engage and make the predictions, which we're doing with Yes Network in their app. Huh. So we have our markets are overlaid on top of their streaming, and you can bet along. It's free to play, but you have coins, and then you can win prizes. And we've seen a lot of good engagement there. That's one where, we're learning a lot about how our markets can create a good experience, even with a higher latency from the video. So we have to pick certain markets. Betting every pitch isn't going to work when the streaming's 20 seconds behind. But we can delay showing results so there aren't spoilers, and change the mechanics a little bit. So we see this future of kind of watch and bet and single screen, and in the fan engagement space and free to play, we're definitely for Yes, we're trying to increase watch times and just have users keep coming back.
Yep.
And that's valuable for them. So we can get paid that way. And then I think additionally, could be a good funnel. You can attract and groom users that might want to eventually make micro time frame bets for real money.
Yep. Mark Nerenberg is the Chief Operating Officer at Simplebet. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
On the next Future Sport podcast, let's focus in on one of those platforms evolving with the current landscape.
The first thing top of mind for us from a programming perspective, we just have to make them aware of what's going on. Hey, look, the Thursday night game is this, and you can bet this game, while watching it, a simple play. Here's the money line for that game. Here's the spread. Here's the total. Try to explain the total to them.
That's Kevin Grigsby, Senior Vice President of TV at FanDuel, as the network formerly known as TVG morphs from the home of horse racing to a variety of content and betting options. That will do it for this episode. As always, the future is now. This is the Future Sport Podcast. I'm Bram Weinstein.